I
You're
think we're
live.
live.
Yes.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Just as Colette Elizabeth, I learned something new today. My dear sister Harriet, Dr. Kimani Norrington-Sands, showed me how to do StreamYard. So you guys got to give me some grace if I mess up. So we going to go ahead and roll with this. I want to thank everybody who's come to the channel. Today, we are going to provide you with some more resources on leaving a toxic job. I have two phenomenal ladies with me today. You guys already know, friend to the channel, Dr. Kimani Norrington-Sands, my sister Harriet. Let's go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself, doctor.
Yes. Well, first, I want to say I'm so proud of my sister friend, Harriet, for figuring out StreamYard today. And I want to tell the audience, I want to apologize because I was setting it up, helping Colette set it up, but I put 5 o'clock. So I usually go live at 5 o'clock. So I'm sorry to your audience. But everyone, if you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor. But I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. And we're going to talk about some ways that we can continue to help liberate Black women. And Colette and I call each other Sister Harriet because we both channel our inner Harriet to help Black women leave toxic jobs. And not only leave, but to leave and do well and thrive.
That's what we do. And I'm always talking about community, as you all know. So the thing about this great community that Harriet and I are building is that there's enough room for more than 2 Harriets. We got another Harriet on the line. I just met her, this beautiful sister, Dr. Rosché Brown. She is a financial psychologist, and
Yes.
she's going to tell us about herself, and then we're going to get started. Go ahead, doctor.
But thank you to be joining the Sister Harriet's, okay? My name is Dr. Rosché Brown. I am also known as the Doctor of Rethinking because I help people to remix their thinking so they can make their money, they can manage their money, and they can multiply their money. I want us to be able to make it, manage it, and multiply it. And just like you said, I am a financial psychologist. So that means that I also help with the money mindset, because sometimes it's not about the practices, but what's getting in the way of us actually, implementing the practices that we're in need of. So that's what I help people do.
And I feel so blessed. I mean, you know how we sisters do it. I mean, we're going to tell you the information and then we're going to show our little logo information to let you know that we all about it. So unless you all have something else to say, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions.
Well, I want to add one thing, right? So Rosché is definitely one of the Harriets because she helped me get my financial roadmap so I can escape from a very toxic job, which I say was a plantation. So she was absolutely my Harriet to help me get that financial exit plan together. So because she helped me, and I'm all about helping other Black women, I was like, we need to collaborate and help other Black women who might feel stuck in a toxic job because of concerns about how am I going to pay my bills.
Right. And thank you for sharing that because it segues perfectly into the first question that I have. And either one of you can go ahead and answer, whoever wants to go first, however you want to do it. So what I'll start with is, could you share your background and what led you to focus on mental health, the mental health of Black women, particularly in the context of the workplace?
I'll kick it off. Yeah. So, on my YouTube channel, I've been very vocal and transparent about my whole healing journey from a toxic job because I started my YouTube channel when I was still at the toxic job. I was on a leave of absence. And it was a way for me to process what was happening to me. And it was a way for me to not be silenced about a situation that they were trying to humiliate me and silence me. So it was my way of saying, no, you're not going to silence me. And because of what I went through in a toxic job and all the mental health and the physical issues that I went through my healing journey, I said, wait a minute, there are other Black women who have similar experiences. Because as I started talking about it on social media, what I noticed was that so many Black women around the world started reaching out to me and saying, this is my story. I'm not alone. Thank you for talking about it. And honestly, I didn't really think I was going to have a YouTube channel for this long. I really didn't. I thought I was going to talk about my healing journey and I would be out. No. Black women are like, girl, keep talking, keep sharing this information. Not enough of us are talking about it. And because I'm out of the toxic job since I resigned, I feel a level of freedom, and I can just say whatever I want. A lot of Black women in toxic jobs, they're still at the toxic job. So they feel very stuck and concerned and scared. I'm like, girl, I'm not scared of nothing. It's nothing that old job can do to me. I'm totally liberated. And so now that I've liberated myself and I've actually been healing, in this healing journey, I'm still healing. As I've made my way through, I said, you know what? My life is so much better now that I've left the toxic job. But if somebody would have told me that before I left the toxic job, I would have been like, no, I can't leave. No. Right. And I want other Black women to know you can leave and you could do very, very, very well once you leave. Even if it's hard to believe it in the moment, you need to just work with people who can show you there's a different way. So then that became my mission, is to help other Black women and help them liberate, because the life you are living, if you're in a toxic job, it's a horrible existence. And I remember it. I remember waking up in dread. I remember just like Sunday scaries, all of those things. And I just don't want other Black women to go through what I went through, and or if they're currently going through it, I want other Black women to know there's a way out, and a way out you can do well.
Yes. And I think that's something that's really important to stress, is that there is a way out, and there is a way out to do well.
Yes.
And so I believe, Dr. Rosché, that's your specialty, showing folks how to, you're leading the torch, but you're also showing them where the bag is. And so can you talk a little bit about that, and maybe answer the question that I just asked, but then also talk a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So I'm actually a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been doing the work since 2006. So for many, many years. But about 8 years ago, I added the component of finances. And so that happened because a lot of people in my private practice were coming in having financial stress that was actually either leading or at least contributing to their mental health stress. Right. So we know if our money is funny, it'll cause you to feel depressed and anxious. Right. They go hand in hand. And so that's how I ended up, bringing it together, becoming a financial psychologist. And I had different courses and one-on-one coaching with people. And it grew into being able to help people leave their toxic job. It wasn't my intention, right? That's not actually, I'm not a toxic job, survivor, shall I say. But it was because that comes up a lot, particularly with Black women, is the level of not having, being afraid of leaving their job, or just being in a toxic job, period. So we're talking about it for a long time. And then one of the areas that was causing them to not leave was finances. Being afraid of how do I manage my debt? What about my pension? What about my benefits? This is a good job. What is everybody going to say? My identity. So there's so many things that were tied up into it that I started realizing, because I was like, just leave. That's how I'm thinking, come on, you're marketable, go somewhere else. Right. But they couldn't see it. And so that's what part of our work was, noticing those things, and then noticing how do I give them practical steps around finances, right? Because sometimes people don't know practical steps within our community. I often tell people that it took me billions of years to become a doctor. Okay. All these years of schooling to become a doctor, but nobody ever said hey, this is what you do with your money when you get it. Right. And so people have these thoughts that just because you start making a lot, that all of a sudden you figure out how to manage it. That's not true. Right. Nobody ever teaches you those skill sets. And so I was like, let me go ahead and intervene and be able to learn more for myself, and then be able to share with others. And that's what I've done within my practice.
That's I love that, because you're right. And it's not even just leaving toxic jobs. It's just period. Financial literacy is something that it's a learned skill. And what I love about it being learned is it means that if you didn't know, you can learn. That information is available to us. And sometimes, particularly in our community, some of the generations were just trying to make it. They didn't necessarily have the extra, to invest into another business or even into their retirement. But now we, thank God, are benefactors of all the hard work of our parents and grandparents. And we now do have a little bit more money than month, some of us. So it's okay, what do I do? What wise decisions do I do with that money? How do I properly steward that? So I just think that the work that you're doing is so important. So I'm going to go to the next question, and this is going to be, I just want to briefly, for people who are new to the channel, we've talked about toxic work environments on a number of different videos and lives, and I just want to briefly, Dr. Kimani, briefly just give a brief challenge, some of the challenges that Black women in particular face on toxic jobs. Many of you have heard my story. If you're new, you may not have. You can look at some of my prior videos. But let's just talk briefly about some of the challenges that we in particular face as Black women on toxic jobs.
Yes, thank you. I think so many of us have this experience of toxic jobs, of going from one toxic job to the next. And so many of us, in terms of how many of us have toxic jobs, is because racism and sexism is in all of our systems. And so as Black women, we've been told that you go to school, you get the degree, you get an extra degree, you got all the degrees, all the certifications, and we come into the workplace, and many of us have also been brought up knowing, our parents have talked to us about, you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So we come into the workplace, and a lot of times we're showing out, right? We are excelling, we got the degrees, the certifications, all these things. And what we find many times in the workplace is that people are intimidated by us. So then we try to contort ourselves, we try to not be as threatening to people. We try to tone police ourselves. We mask ourselves in the workplace. So we might experience, the so-called microaggressions, the micromanagement, the throwing under the bus, pet to threat. We might experience all these things in the workplace, but we still try to contort ourselves because, number one, we believe in the work that we're doing. Number two, we've been told that that's part of what to expect, that all jobs are like this, all jobs are toxic. You just got to stay there. You got to stick it out and don't let nobody run you out of a good job. And then some of us might become so connected to the identity, the work title, that it becomes fused. And so now your identity is wrapped up into your job. So now it's very difficult to see yourself outside the job. So you may be trying even harder. You're experiencing burnout, you feel burnt down, you feel all these other things, but you feel the need to kind of dig in more and work harder. And then when we do that, we start experiencing many times physical and or psychological symptoms. And I would even add spiritual, harm that we experience in the sense of, questioning God, why would you put me in this situation? I'm a good person. I used to say that to myself. I'm a good person. I'm a good employee. Why would you do this to me? Why would you let these people do these to me? But I had to reframe that. I had to reframe that this was happening to me to get me out of that toxic work environment. But for me, I saw it in a different way. And so I think when we have that clarity through therapy, through support of other people, that you start to realize, wait a minute, this might be the common experience for Black women, but this doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. And I have other options, and really starting to explore what those options are. So I think so many of us experience it because of issues of racism and sexism. But I think that we think that we can outwork it. You can't outwork oppression. You can't. And so it has to get to a point where you say, you know what, it's not worth it. And let me start getting my exit plan together. And that's what I want Black women to know, is that you can get exit plan, but it's important to get the plan together in terms of getting prepared. And what does that mean? What do you need to do to get prepared? I didn't know. That's why I started working with Dr. Rosché, because I said, I don't know. Like, I know that I want to leave this job, but what's keeping me here is I'm scared about how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to replace my income? What am I going to do with my health insurance and my retirement? All those things. And when I found out she was a financial psychologist, I said, I got to work with her. I got to work with her because I don't know what to do. And I know I got to get out of this environment because I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I got to get out, but I need to have a plan. And so I said, well, if she's an expert, she needs to show me what I need to do. And part of it was working through my own fears and my own fears about money, my own avoidance issues about money. I had to address it head on because I knew that I had to work through all those issues to get to my liberation, my freedom.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to ask you a question too, Dr. Rosché, specifically. But the next question I had was, how does staying in toxic jobs impact the mental health and well-being of Black women in both the short and long term? What I do want to say is, when you were speaking, a lot of times for us as Black women, we are not necessarily making the top of even though we may be in top positions, many of us are not making the top money. And the pressure that we have on the resources that we are receiving, being that we are the most educated women, actually educated people on the planet, that comes with the price.
Yeah.
We got that education many times because of student loans. So in addition to worrying about, okay, if I leave this job, and how am I going to live? How am I going to pay my student loans? How am I going to do this? And then we also have, many of us are caretakers. We're caring for children, and then some of them are caring for parents. So those to me act as additional stressors, in addition to what you're dealing with on the job. So can you briefly talk, one of you, about how staying on the impact of staying on the mental health of staying on a toxic job? And then the other thing I want to add, and one thing I always say, is all money ain't good money.
You got that right.
So can you tie that in with that? And maybe Dr. Rosché, maybe you can take that one.
Yeah, I mean, so there's so many different mental health concerns that happen, right? So you actually have mental health diagnoses. So you find yourself in depression, even like a dysthymia, which is like a low grade depression that's just living for a long time that you don't even know. It's become a part of your personality, right? Finding yourself feeling very irritable and agitated with those that are around you, bringing the stuff that's from work home, right? So now that's impacting your relationships. That could be your relationship with your spouse, or your relationship with your children. All of those things are also happening. It's causing you levels of anxiety on a regular basis. All of those, even mental health issues, lead to physical symptoms, so we might have panic attacks that may occur. Ulcers due to stress, high blood pressure. Black women actually have the highest levels of high blood pressure and different things because of mostly toxic jobs. That's actually what it's speaks to. So all of these different things start to happen that affect your mental health and even your physical health when you're staying somewhere that you don't belong, that's no longer in alignment with who you are and what you need.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thank you for that, because when I talk to people, just in general, talk to Black women, and they're talking about their job, how much they hate their job, how much A, B, C, D. And I was one of those people. So I'm raising my hand. Yeah. And I was one of those people, had a good government job, good benefits, A, B, C, D, all the good stuff except the bad stuff, right? So, one of the things I always say, hey, you can have all this good stuff, but if you're swimming in the sewage and you're living in the sewage, you're still going to smell like that bad stuff. I can't say the word because my mama on here, that is in the sewage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right with it. You're going to smell like it. And so I'll probably get a call later. But anyway, you're going to smell like that. And so, yes, you have a good job. You have the benefits. You have the retirement. You have a 401k, but you may be dying internally. Right?
Right.
You may be dying. I know for me, I've discussed before, Dr. Rosché, on Dr. Kimani's channel, that I was afraid to go to sleep because I didn't think I'd wake up sometimes. Yeah. And so that's how bad it had got for me.
Yeah. Right.
So what I'd like to ask now is, how can, we talked about the common fears and concerns that Black women face when considering leaving toxic jobs, primarily finances, and how can they overcome them. How can someone make a decision to leave a toxic job without feeling like they're giving up or letting others down?
Oh, good question. Well, I think that's the part when therapy is so valuable, because when you're in the workplace, a lot of times you are really just trying to survive every day. So you're walking in, you're trying to pep talk yourself in, you're wearing that mask all day. And then at the job, they're gaslighting you about what's happening. And so it's Black women. I've seen us do this way too many times. I did it too. We try to get clarity about things. We want to have meetings with somebody. Then we're trying to outmaneuver. It's way too much. So when you're in therapy, that's the first step. When you're in therapy, you're able to honestly tell what is happening at your job. And your therapist is able to hear this and say, wait a minute, what happened? Right? So able to reality test with you, so you're not all up in your head, self-gaslighting yourself, which is problematic. So that's the first step, is that you come to terms, you acknowledge that this is a toxic work environment, right? The second thing is working with your therapist to identify what are the issues that are keeping you at the job, okay? What are the fears that you have? Because the fears are going to be there. It's a change. It can be very scary. You could feel like, oh, the fear means I need to stay at the job. No, the therapist can help validate that fears are a normal reaction to a major life change. But this is what we're going to do to walk through the fears. And the hope is a therapist can work with you to say, okay, we've identified the job as toxic. We've identified that you need to go. Now let's identify what's your game plan, what's your exit plan, okay? The therapist may not help you, may not be to articulate all the elements of your exit plan, but the therapist hopefully can say, you know what, I think it's a good idea for you to really research resources that can help you with your exit plan and continue to stay in therapy as you are moving forward in your exit plan, because the fears are gonna be there, right? And there's gonna be times they even get like really intensified, particularly as you get closer to I'm out of here. But the therapy is important. And I would add, it would be very important to have an accountability group, if you can, with other Black women who are not associated with your job, okay?
Right.
I know you talk about that a lot, Colette. We don't want people at your job knowing what you're trying to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an accountability group, particularly of other Black women, whom you can honestly share what's happening with you and what your plans are, they can hold you accountable to, okay, so this week you said you were going to work on blah, 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 right? And they're pouring into you. You have to be very mindful as you're exiting out of a toxic job, who you surround yourself with, what information you share with them. Because if you start talking to people in your circle and they're projecting their fears onto you, girl, don't leave that job. You're going to end up homeless. Girl, don't leave that job. What's wrong with you? Don't let them win. You got to be mindful of that. So the other thing is for us to have boundaries and not share that information with people who are not on board with us making an exit plan for leaving and really saving ourselves.
Right. Walk in silence sometimes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Dr. Rosché, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, like, so what keeps on coming up for me is like, how we design the financial masterclass, because I feel like that's how it came, like what were the building blocks that is needed, so one of the areas is like, the fears. We know that that's the biggest thing, right? And that's why some of the fears are just emotional fears, that's what you deal with in therapy. That's why Dr. Kimani handles that, right? How do I identify those fears? How do I confront those fears, right? That's one of those biggest things. And just, identifying like that is what that is. That's fear. I'm just afraid, right? But then moving into the area that one of the fears could be the finances. And so that's why we started to say, okay, well, what can we also create? And so we started, another part of the financial masterclass is creating a vision, right? What does your vision of your life look like when it's outside of being at this job, right? Because you have been so stuck in this job that all you think about, right, is this job, and even want to move up there to experience more stress, right? But you don't even know what could life possibly look like outside of this job. And so, we allow people opportunity to create that vision. When you're in that state of depression and anxiety, it can make you feel stuck, right? And it will actually reduce your ability to be creative in your mind and even be imaginative. And so we give that opportunity to figure out what that vision will look like. But then, moving forward, as we look at the different fears, is that usually people are like, well, what am I supposed to do with them good old benefits, right? You had a good government job, right? That's what I hear. Good government job.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah. So that's even scarier, right? So now my benefits, I'm so close. If I could just stay a little bit longer, then I'll be okay, right? And so even that, so what do we do with those benefits, right? Well, how do we even understand our pension? How do we possibly roll it over into something different? Oh, that's an option. A lot of us are just not exposed to what can happen later, so figuring out those plans. And so we kind of discuss, what do we do with those benefits? What do you do with life insurance? Life insurance oftentimes doesn't even go with you from your job. So how do you get your own? Make sure that you're doing well in that area. So we focus on those things. We even focus on a financial timeline. So creating your actual specific plan going forward, because a lot of times people are at different areas or different continuums of like wanting to leave. Some people are like, is this toxic? Some people are like, oh, it definitely is toxic. I need to leave tomorrow. Some people are like, I got a little time. And so we kind of deal with what are the timelines for each area, right? So if you need to leave immediately, this is what you need to do, right? Like, how do we understand how to get on a leave, right? How do you go through that process? What should you be doing while on that leave? Just leaving is not helpful. We need to be preparing and planning in that time frame. So we give them the steps on what to do during that time. If you have a little bit more time and you're able to stay and stick it out 6 months, we give you a 6-month plan. We give you a year plan. So we figure out all those different steps within the, within the masterclass, as well as give you like a workbook, a nice workbook so you can take it with you. So depending on when you feel like you want to leave, you can go ahead and take that with you on that process. As well as Dr. Kimani will talk about, well, how do you replace that income? Because that's the scary part, right? Where's the money going to come from, right? Where's the money going to come from? So how do you use some of those talents and abilities and gifts that God has given you? And you may be only focusing them in this one job, right? But how can you start focusing them for yourself? And so we also cover those things and talk about that as we, move forward in the masterclass. And I think that's kind of like that journey that people are in need of in order to actually, legitimately leave.
So true. And, I just want to just emphasize that many Black women who are in a toxic job, many of you watching right now, you might feel that sense of dread, like waking up every day and just dread. I've had so many Black women talk to me about crying on their way to work, going in the bathroom at the job, crying in the bathroom, putting your face together, leaving work, still processing the job, crying at the job. So this financial masterclass provides an opportunity for Black women, for us to know there is another way. And not only, oh my God, tell me the information, we're actually going to work with you. Like Dr. Rosché is actually going to help you come up with your financial exit plan. So you might feel like, wait a minute, there is a way out. Like I can do these tangible things. It's like, okay. And this will take away like this dread that I have over my life. And I can start thinking about, what do I want my life to look like? Like, is that really a possibility? Yes, it is a possibility. And Dr. Rosché has a bonus too. You just shared a bonus. What's the bonus?
I forgot about me. So an extra bonus to the class is that you also get a 30-minute free call, like an additional call, a one-on-one to actually customize the plan for you. So we're going to talk about all these things and make sure you have the education and exposure within the class. So it makes you a little bit more informed with how to utilize that 30 minutes. And so by that time, you'll have that 30-minute bonus call with me. We can discuss what's going on with you. How do we kind of get over whatever simple barriers those are, as well as giving, the financial plan that makes sense for your individualized case.
Yeah. And just so you won't feel stuck anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So when Dr. Rosché and I created the financial masterclass, it was really informed from my own experiences and all the barriers that I had to go over and really address. So I was able to resign. So thinking about this is kind of a shortcut. This is a shortcut to help you so you feel less stuck. And it's with 2 Black women clinical psychologists, licensed clinical psychologists, and you're in community with other Black women. So the masterclass is with 4 other Black women. So you're in a room with other Black women, same type of situations. You will be amazed. And I want to emphasize this too. The masterclass is set up in terms of Zoom webinar. So only Dr. Rosché and I will be on camera. So none of the participants will be on camera. Names will not be listed because we know in terms of privacy considerations, many of us don't want people in our business. We don't want people to know we're trying to leave a toxic job. So the privacy is really important to know that you can get unstuck. You can be in a community with other Black women who are supportive and rooting you on. And you can get this information about how to get unstuck. And the masterclass is not all information. It is fun. It really is fun. We dance, we sing, we laugh, we do all those things, but also sharing information with Black women so you can get less unstuck and you can get out that toxic job.
So yeah, I just want to thank you both for creating this resource. To my audience, I talk a lot about making your plan, making your exit plan, first making your decision seeing something different than what you're living right now, because as one of our common YouTube sisters says, you're already living your worst nightmare. You're at a toxic job and you're stuck. Like I felt stuck at one point. And so they kind of talked about the resource that I wanted to share with you. And I just want to say, I'm so glad you all created it, because it will help people to just visualize something different. I talk a lot about vision, and I'll talk about some visioning in a second. But one of the things is being able to do something, is being able to kind of see it and imagine yourself in that situation first. And what happens is when you have individuals who've already walked that path, they can kind of tell you, you know what, you can take this shortcut here, or you can go the long way. It's your choice. If you take the shortcut, you're going to go this way. If you want to take the long way, the scenic route, you go this way. So that's the great thing. Right. That's and neither way is wrong. It's what you prefer, So what I like about this particular resource is we have an individual who has walked this out, and that Dr. Kimani went through these steps. Then you have the actual designer of the financial piece of it, who actually has, this is a proven, we call it a concept of proof. And that means we know that it works. There is a psychology behind how we deal with our money. Okay. And that's just, it's a mindset. It's just a thing. I mean, I don't get 100% on that right now, but folks can help us to increase our financial literacy so that we can get that confidence and to do what we need to do as far as leaving places where we are being harmed. Because most people, I think, and myself included, stay in these positions because of the finances. I know for me, I had, and I think Dr. Rosché said something about it earlier. One of the things I kept saying, well, let me just stay a few more months. I get a little bit higher retirement. I kept saying that, even though I shared earlier, I was afraid to go to sleep because I didn't think I was going to wake up. And this is not, this is a real thing that I dealt with. But my oldest daughter, who's probably on the live, one of the things she said, hey, mommy, what's the point of earning more retirement if you die? True. That's what she said to me.
And it's so black and white. It really is, right? So we think about the length of our lives, the quantity, but also the quality of our lives. So we get all these degrees to have a life of misery. No. I hope that's not something that we settle for, because we deserve so much more. Even if people try to tell us we don't, we deserve so much more than to be in a situation like that.
Right. And the other thing I want to add too is, I don't want people to say, okay, so this is just a course, a master course. And I have the link in the chat box. It's the 2025 Financial Masterclass for Black women. This is for Black women. So the link is there, and it's also in the description box. But one of the things I want to say, I don't want people to think, okay, I can only attend this if I have a toxic job. What if I love my job, but I still want to leave? I think it's still a good resource, because you can start doing your planning on how, whether it's to retire, whether it's to go into self-employment, whether it's to go to a part-time job, whether it's just to travel the world, whatever you decide. I think that this particular master class, can help us deal with our finances and deal with how we think about our finances. One of this, by the way, I am not getting paid for this. I don't necessarily I'm offered affiliates commission for courses, but I don't take them. Okay. So I would not be presenting you with something that I myself did not believe in. And I want to say that because that's very, very important to me. I don't want you all to think that, hey, she's just selling her audience. No, I personally took a course from, and I believe was the prototype of this course, from Dr. Kimani when she first came out with it. I myself took that. Okay. So I don't offer things that I myself don't believe in. Okay. All I can do is present you with the information, because I do have a lot of people in my comments saying, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to answer these questions that's outside of my lane. I'm going to give it to the professionals, and the professionals are Dr. Kimani and Dr. Rosché. So in closing, Dr.
Wait,
Rosché.
Colette, can I say something else? I'm sorry. Can I say something else?
Oh, no, yeah, I'm sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So the financial masterclass too, and I love how you said that it's not only for Black women in toxic jobs, because it really looks at not only the financial exit plan, but also setting yourself up for financial wellness and for wealth. So something we also talk about is having multiple streams of income, because when you have a job, many of us are so reliant on that one job. That's when we feel stuck. That's when we're so scared, because that's the only place where we're getting money. So we're also going to talk about in the financial masterclass, what are your options to create multiple streams of income so you're less reliant and dependent on that job? You feel less stuck on that job. And people can decide what they want to do, right? So the masterclass is for Black women, no matter what their education level is, no matter what their profession, no matter what their income. It really is for all Black women. And it could be if you want to go to another job, or it could be if you want to have your own business or have a side hustle. So it's not only for one particular type of Black women, as if that was one thing, but it's really inclusive for all Black women, no matter where you are on that continuum of wanting to leave a job or if you want to stay, but really having that financial literacy and coming up with having a better understanding of our money and how our money can really work for us and not always feel like we're like on a hamster wheel.
Yeah, Doctor, thank you so much for that. And Dr. Rosché, did you want to add anything else?
Yes, I was just thinking, it's for everybody, mainly because most of us don't actually like take the time to even look at our finances, right? So this is going to be your opportunity. Like I always tell people, like, know the numbers, right? Like, bring the data, right? Not the drama, right? The drama is all this emotional stuff that we put on there, right? But I just want to look at the information and how to do that without judging yourself. Because we can be so hard on ourselves, and we need to show ourselves more kindness and compassion. There's oftentimes that we have like different money mistakes that we made, right? Maybe we've made so much of this money and we're like, I can't believe I don't have anything saved, so we feel bad. Wait, we're going to stop that and interrupt that thought process and just go ahead and have compassion for, like, okay, we made a money mistake. We're not going to judge ourselves for whatever decisions we made, but how do we decide to make decisions differently going forward? Right. And so that's what it's for everybody, right? That has nothing to do if you're a toxic job or not. But I think it's so important that as we look at financial literacy, is that there's times that we never were taught anything, that are taught ways to like manage our money. And this is going to give you the opportunity in order to do so. And so you can come to this class, for those areas alone. Right. And then also I like to tell people, like, as you look at, even the price, I tell people about investing versus an expense. A lot of us have expenses, right? Like all these expenses that don't do anything for us. But when you invest in yourself, you're going to get a return. Right. And so when you decide to go into a master class or invest in maybe coaching or even therapy, those are investments, right? Because you're going to get a return of your level of like even understanding how to manage your finances saves you money, right? Understanding how to get out of this job sooner rather than later is going to save you just in peace. Okay. Like you should have more peace in your life. Your mind feels at ease, even though things don't feel easy, right? Even that like will make you feel good. So I think all of those things are things that we, are like teaching people throughout the course. And I forgot, we never told them that we're going to get off. We didn't tell them the dates. Let's get them the dates.
We got them the dates, the time. Yes.
Let's make sure we do that. So the financial masterclass is going to be January 8th and 9th. We strategically placed it in the beginning of the year, right? Because we want you to get your money right early on in the new year for thriving in 2025, right? We want to make sure we can live like that good life. And so it's January 8th and 9th, and it's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Time, okay?
Yeah.
As well as you're going to get a replay. So if you're not able to come to one of the days, it's okay. We'll give you a replay so you can go ahead and check that out and make sure you get all of the information that is needed during this time as well.
Yes. And you have the opportunity to gift a Black woman. So let's say you maybe missed certain holidays, or you just know a Black woman right now who is really in a bad situation because of her toxic job. Your mama, your sister, your friend, you can gift a Black woman. You just click the link for registration and put the information in, and you can gift a Black woman. And just keep in mind, in terms of, this is a resource to help you get unstuck, okay? That this is something for us to think about. Okay, I don't like my life situation, but do I want to stay in a situation that's hurting me, or do I want to start making moves to start getting ready? Because as Black women, we get ready for things. And I want to just say something too, which is so sad, but it's a reality, that we have a number of government employees that, due to this change of the guard, are going to be losing their jobs. And so they really need to be aware of finances as well and what their options are. So I just want to just say, this class is for you as well.
So I want to thank you guys. I do want to go through the comments really quickly. I know Dr. Rosché has to go at 5. So let's go through. We have a few comments here. Oh, this is my mom. Thank you, I'm on. I have something. Hey, ladies, from Marissa Price. Hey, Marissa.
Hey, Marissa.
It says there's another one that says, you're staying somewhere where you don't belong. That this is so important. And then another comment, imagine something different. That job is temporary.
Yep.
My mom says, excellent information. Thank you. But don't forget to get paid. Get $1. So I wanted to thank you all. And I also wanted to remind you that I do still have my, we talked about personal vision. So here's my personal vision workbook, still available on Amazon. And there is a section in here about financial stability.
Okay.
So you could use this, and maybe one of your steps, because you write your financial vision, mission and vision, right? Yes. And one of your missions could be to leave the job. And one of the steps could be to take the class. Yep. So that's still available. And then I also have the gratitude journal. I just want to give myself my own little shout out for my own stuff too.
What is that called? That's called another stream of income. Okay. So
yes.
about your streams of income. Talk about marketing. Most people don't even know about marketing.
Right.
Most people know what you have.
Right. So I just want to thank you, ladies. Anything else you want to add? I do have one question. Yes. What if you have a person on the job that says, you know what, right now, I don't have it. I don't have it to go to the course, and I'm barely hanging on. Okay. What one piece of advice would you give a sister that's on a job that has that situation? Before you answer that, I do want to say, if you are in a situation where you don't necessarily have control of your finances, again, as Dr. Rosché said earlier, don't beat yourself up, because know that a part of being in a toxic job is kind of self-medicating. Some people self-medicate with, the drink, and some do the other stuff. Some do the boogaloo, some do shopping.
Yes.
Right. Some do shopping. Yes. Some do gambling. All those involve finances. So, even if you can't do it now, the replay will be available. And I'm sure some of the mindset information and tools will be helpful. But can you all answer the question that I asked earlier?
Yeah. Well, there's different options. One is, for the financial masterclass, one of the options at checkout is that you can put it on a payment plan, so you don't have to pay all at once. So that's an option, kind of break it down a little bit for you. The other option is, there's other free resources available to you. So on my YouTube channel, which is Lifting Us with Time Consulting Wellness Services, I go on live every Sunday with a different Black women talking about healing journeys, sharing resources. But in that description section, I have a list of free resources available to you. I have a free webinar about how to leave a toxic job, and I also have a weekly newsletter. So you can get those free resources until you're able to afford something else. And it may be sometimes that we kind of have to work up the courage, right? So you have to keep watching videos. You have to keep doing things So maybe my YouTube channel is that possibility or option for you. So there's free resources for you, okay? But if you do want to invest in a financial masterclass, there's also a payment option. So don't feel like you have to pay all of it right at checkout.
Yes. Dr. Rosché.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, like consume information that's out there that is free, that is available, right? YouTube University is available. So go ahead and go to school there. But here goes some quick practical steps. I do think it's important to know your numbers, right? And so that means, taking opportunity to like look at, a month that is more reflective of how you spend. Sometimes the holiday months are not as reflective, right? Because we might be done too much. But maybe if we go back to October, let's say, and just take your bank statements and just get familiar with your numbers. That's all. Just familiar. Where is your money going? And this takes time. You have to create like a financial, I call it a financial health day, right? We might take a mental health day. We need a financial health day, a day that you're just going to say, let me go look and see what's going on. Maybe I look in my back office of my job and say, what are my benefits? I really don't even know. What's the pension look like? So just start to get familiar with things is going to be the first step, no matter like where you are on this continuum. And then when you realize, hey, I may need some additional support, that's when you say, let me go ahead and get this replay. Let me get a one-on-one with Dr. Kimani or me, whatever is needed after that. But first, get familiar with the numbers.
Yes.
And how can Dr. Kimani told them how that she can be found on internet? How can you be found? Do you have a channel or Instagram?
Yes, and I'll give you my link, like, so you can jump on a calendar with me as well. You can go to workwithdrrosché.com and you'll be able to get on a calendar. But you also can find me on IG, Instagram, where I post usually daily. So it's Dr._Rosché there, or Dr. Rosché even on Facebook. So you can check me out in any of those areas.
And her information, as well as Dr. Kimani's, will be in the description box. Some of it's there, but I'll update to include the Facebook information for Dr. Rosché. I just wanted to thank everyone today. The thing that I wanted to make sure that I leave you with is, if you are a worker in the state of California, you can apply for state disability insurance through the Employment Development Department if you work for an employer that pays into the program. You can apply for the claim at edd.ca.gov. I know quite a bit about EDD, so we will leave it there, but you pay into the plan. Most people do. Some schools and some government jobs, like federal government, does not, but many do. So check with your employer, or even just look at your paycheck. You'll see if it's deducted from your paycheck, you pay into it. And there is a lot of tools on that website. The other thing I want to remind people of, if you just need to talk, many employers offer employee assistance program that is free of charge to the employee. The employer pays for that, and that information is confidential. This is an HR program, but they do not share the information with the human resources unless they are legally obligated to do so. So I just wanted to make sure that my girls out there, my ladies, and some of them, somebody said I'm their auntie and they head. Right? So for all my nieces out there, all my little sisters out there, I just want to make sure that you have those resources. And I want to thank my sister Harriet, Dr. Kimani, for being on the channel. And I want to thank my new friend, Dr. Rosché, hey, for being on the channel as well. This has been a pleasure. Unless there's any questions or any ending statements you all would like to make, we're going to go ahead and close out.
Maybe right, Colette?
Oh, yeah.
Subscribe to her channel. Share this video with other Black women.
Yeah, and go to Dr. Kimani's channel, which is Lifting As We Climb Consulting Services. It's in the description box. Please subscribe to her channel. She has a lot of useful information. And please go find Dr. Rosché. I'll put all her information in the description box and get the information. Sometimes it's free. You can binge watch my channel. I have a lot of information. So until next time, you all, we
Oh,
will.
Marissa does too. Marissa Price.
Oh wait, yeah, Marissa Price, Mari. I'll put her in there too.
Mhm.
And Marissa Price MSW is her
Yes.
channel. So
Yes.
I will put all that information in the description box. And we will talk soon, you guys. All right, ladies.
Bye.
Stay on for a second.
Bye.
Stay on for a second, Dr. Rosché and Dr. In the live stream. Oh Lord, help me. I think I ended it.